What does it mean to flow with the river? One thing that I'm big on is that if you're going to offer a piece of wisdom, like live life like water and flow with the river, then I think it's very important to also provide modern day, whatever at the time is modern day, practical examples of what it is you're talking about, so that the listener has some hanger to put their clothes on so that it can dry. You know, information like this, when you get to like metaphysical information and reconditioning your intellect to flow with its balanced brain chemistry, instead of all of the effect that companies have had from literally paying for advertising to engage your brain chemistry to give favor and attention towards them so that they can eventually get more money. You've been hijacked, in other words, at least in a sense. Everything that you go to the extreme is really just to make a point. So hijack is a very aggressive term, but I use that to emphasize a point in our lives where things really are happening. So anyways, flowing with the river is not very useful information unless you know something about it that you can equate to that's happening in your life at the time that it's happening. So an example, and this comes from a story I just got done talking to with my mom, which is really cool because I came back here to be with my family, and now I'm starting to recognize dividends of that move, which makes me feel proud. And she was talking to me about how my dad would treat her. Now this is, you got to recognize, I've gotten to some depth in my life to be able to pull this information out of my mom. You think I'm just going to sit down with my mom and she's just going to tell me how my dad beat her? Absolutely fucking not. This is an example and a testament of the purpose and the value of getting alone, away from everything you're called every day, and discovering your true self and getting in alignment with your true feelings so that you can get real and level with people. And you know what? They're going to reciprocate that if you can do that. Because everything is a ratio. It's an internal to external ratio. So the more that you become vulnerable and complete in understanding and secure in your life, the more you're able to do that with your environment, which includes other people. You understand? So sometimes, side note, your relationships may not be good because something that you're doing, something that's not being good to yourself. Whatever your impact is on your environment is a mirror of what you're doing to yourself. And that's a good way to check if what you're doing is really benefiting. It's really worth checking on or worth continuing with. So my dad, when he was younger, was a really aggressive bully, but he was really immature and kind of a brat. And my mom would provoke that on occasion when they were young and before I had my stepdad. And this is before I was born, keep in mind. And he would call her names, or he might put his hands on her and might hit her. And, please be respectful of this information, because understand I'm sharing with you guys something very special to me for the sake of demonstrating that I believe in broadcasting genuine humanity. If we don't really label what's happening in our external world as it is, instead of what we were taught to create it to be, then we're not going to be able to adapt and adjust with it, because we don't really know what it is. It's always going to be cloudy or murky or unsettled or uncalming, or it's always going to be just a little off. It's until you that's Zen. That's when you become in alignment. Most of us have just breathed in and we're holding our breath, and then our body's starting to shake because we don't realize that we needed to also breathe out. Every action has an opposite reaction, right? So he would just treat her however he felt in that moment after her provoking his behavior. And this is not a matter of saying what's right, what's wrong. It's a matter of taking something that really happened in a very comparable and common practice, which is parents co-parenting and having stepdads or stepmoms or whatever. And she would never be able to do anything about it because she was weaker, right? And he was intimidating. I understand that. But the behavior didn't stop even after she got remarried years later to what is now my stepdad. And he tried to do that behavior one more time, which is what my mom just told me. It's fresh on my mind. But it wasn't solicited. It was bitter. It was based on pettiness because he felt he lost. And I know this because I've been through this with my son. And it's my dad. So I've done some interrogation on this to figure out information I wanted to know without it being known that that's the information I was trying to figure out. And now my mom had a husband. And my stepdad, I've never seen him and my dad be in an argument, ever. And I've actually witnessed times where my sisters were doing something to provoke my stepdad, and my dad stepped in and my stepdad bowed down, which even further validates what I'm about to say and what I learned from this. At this point, my stepdad made a commitment to protect and love my mom. And now her ex, which is irrelevant at this point because it's his woman, is calling her a bitch in his presence. Now, my dad's an aggressive person. When he was at his youth, this was not someone you would just go fuck with. I promise you that. But Brian, my stepdad, stepped up to my dad to defend my mom. And this is what I'm going to say about flowing with the river, is because what he did is he moved from the rush of integrity, knowing that it was his job in that moment to step up and protect his wife. And my dad was in the wrong. He shouldn't have said what he said because it was unprovoked. It was just bitterness. It was someone being a bully and a kind of a loser in a sense. Now, my dad since then has calmed and he has a different personality, and that's largely why I can see the consistencies in and out of his behavior with both my mom, stepdad, all of them. It all comes as a result of awareness. So you start observing. It's like your external is like light. You don't go looking for light. It comes to you. So you just sit and you stay in tune with your integrity. That's your statement. That's your axle. And then you just let the wheel around you spin. And I observe it. And then I share it. Rebroadcast what it is I see in my experience. That's why my channel is called The Human Experience. So furthermore, that moment was like my stepdad flowing with the water. Let's say the water was integrity. And he got that extra strength to move and activate and initiate on behalf of something that was already morally right, in congruence with karma. Karma is your own doing. And my dad disrupted karma, and this was the result. And my dad bowed down because the energy that Brian moved with was greater than the small fire of an unprovoked and bitter co-parent. And I've been there. I know what that feels like. So I'm not trying to talk shit on my dad or glorify. I'm not trying to do anything with this. I'm just trying to show a real demonstration to highlight where it is I see these things that I believe and why I believe them and how they kind of erupt in my mind. And I'm like, wow, there's my validation. Something I already kind of was putting together, there's my example. And then all of a sudden I think we have a sprout of intelligence. And I want to share that back out so they can grow. It can grow among the humans, and then that will benefit us all. Win-win, external, because what's good for me is a healthy organism of humanity. It's not healthy for me when the coronavirus is killing everybody. So what do I need to do? Even though I think it's bullshit to wear a mask, I'm going to wear it because I need to work with the organism, not against it. See what I'm saying? And I think that's how you know you have a good balance on where your pride is blinding you or where it's benefiting you. But anyways, altogether, what I'm saying is that instead of fighting the current or trying to find ways to beat the system, there are example after example to lead me to believe that it's more beneficial for me to flow with the river, no matter what it is. So instead of me clinging to this life that I was taught to have because I'm an American or I'm special or I'm a woman, I deserve the best man, all of these things where they really basically gassed us up to be let down later because that's not reality. We come in alignment with what's true. And then we as a result and as a reward, I've found, and this is why I'm measuring this and I'm writing it down and documenting it. This is all about documenting thought. It's not about gaining followers. It's not about that. It's about documenting something that's true. It's like an experiment, and it's like I'm a scientist and I'm broadcasting this to the people that I know are out there doing the same thing I'm doing. And if that happens to be you, then great. And if you like these videos in other ways, then great. It's whatever. That's the external. I have no control over that. I just want to swim with it. If you guys had recommendations, you'd probably see me listen to them because I'm here to swim with you. It's not just only the way I want to do it. It's how we want to do this. That's the way you succeed. That's how you maneuver. That's how you flow. That's the snake swimming. What part starts? What part doesn't start? What's the convex? What's the concave? It's not any of that. It's all one motion, and it's happening at the same time in congruence to one another.
In 1 mile, turn left onto South Pleasant Grove Road.
So I think it's a benefit to your life to flow with the river. Finding ways to discover that in your life is based on your desires, and finding your desires, your genuine desires, not what you think should be your desires. You have to get away from the game where you're doing things for other people's approval, because that'll always prevent you from doing the right thing based on your instincts leading to desire. Now, you may desire something genuine and get fucked over, but it's better to do that and learn and improve, because that will yield later results than it is to fake an example of who you are to try to get the approval of someone, because that doesn't reproduce. That's not how it works. An orange tree doesn't make apples, okay? Being a fake human does not produce what your brain's gonna want, which is a genuine connection with another soul, male or female, or sometimes it's outside of romantic relationships. It's just friends. It's really solid friendships. Think about those people that you can be vulnerable with, and then you just know that they're not going to make you feel bad because of it.
Turn left.
That's a special thing to share with someone. You see what I'm saying? You already have these things. That's your river. Flow with that instead of fighting it. And if something comes against preserving that, then you know that's not something for you, because it's more important to flow with the river than it is to pretend and kid yourself that you have the strength to over the long term swim against it. You may do good when you're young and you're stronger, and you may swim and you may kid yourself, but eventually you will tire out, because that river will not stop flowing. That's life. Life does not, tomorrow always comes. Okay? We don't have any control over that. The sun will set and then it will rise again. And then it will continue that orbit, whether we're alive or not. So it's better to smoothen your life out, to zen, to relax. It's not that serious. And it is manageable. And it's absolutely possible for you to swim with your environment. And these minor, but major adjustments will increase your life dramatically. And you'll realize America's not that bad. Things aren't so fearful. They're not so terrible right now. Yes, outside there's a jungle of humanity happening. People die. People get raped. People get cancer. But generally, by the millions, by our measurement of human lives in the millions, people are doing well. They have enough money to survive. They're eating. They're taking their kids out to the park. They're getting married. They're spending money on luxuries. So you have to learn how to maneuver your life to swim towards that. Don't follow murky waters and then be surprised when you get bitten by a shark. You understand what I'm saying? So that's all I gotta say. Thank you for tuning in. Much love.